In the late 1600s, Sir Isaac Newton was sitting under an apple tree when suddenly a fruit from the tree came loose and fell directly on his head. One bonk led to the revelation of gravity. And while that was an astonishing discovery, who's to say it can't happen to someone else? All right, what are we talking about this week? Oh. What are you? Super Mario Kart's not that good. There is no doubt about it. Mario Kart is the best casual racing series. Game after game, the Mario Kart series improves and brings a wider and broader audience. Everyone knows what Mario Kart is, and while you may not give a crap about, but I can almost guarantee that you do about Mario Kart Wii, 8, 64, Double Dash, or if you want, I can keep going. And we all may love Mario Kart, but how do you feel about the first one? Back in the 90s, a team at Nintendo set out to develop a racing game that was more user-friendly than F-Zero, and to show off the Super Nintendo's split-screen simultaneous gameplay capabilities. Originally, this game wasn't even a Mario game. No, they created a generic character with overalls and decided, what would it look like if we used Mario characters? Perfection! That's what it would look like. With that, Super Mario Kart was born and then released to the public to critical acclaim in 1992. And this was the world's introduction to the Mario Kart series. While Super Mario Kart is the first game in the series, it's definitely one of the strangest. And that's to be expected. It's the first one, so nothing was set in stone as it is now. But at its core, it's still Mario Kart. Right? So, yes, of course, it still has the staple gameplay. Race against your opponents and use items to battle your way to first place. Except this game is kinda weird. Races are more than 3 laps long, tracks tend to repeat, and you accelerate with the B button. And that's probably its biggest offense here. But this was early Mario Kart. Games like 64 and played like this, while Double Dash was in a weird little gray area and DS mainstreamed it from there. So what this means is this game doesn't handle like you're used to. No, instead, you know what? I'm gonna stop there. I don't know how this game handles, and I probably couldn't really explain it to you. Well, I mean, I'll try my hardest. It feels, well, I hate to say it, but bad. Whenever you hit a turn, you either go way too tight or not tight enough, and maybe I'm just bad at the game, but I can never figure out what's considered just right. In the end, drifting itself does not seem worth it. And that's not to say that it's impossible to control, but it's not great. But what's handling without the controls? So for the most part, Super Mario Kart controls fine, until you realize you accelerate with the B button and throw items with the A button. Probably because I'm so used to the other ones, but this just feels wrong. I have to use a claw grip on the controller if I want to drive and throw an item at the same time, and it's just not a comfortable layout. At least drift is set to the bumpers, but my goodness, this just feels wrong. I don't like it. I don't like this. Oh, but come on, it was just the first Mario Kart. I gotta give it a chance. So then we move on to the roster. There really isn't a lot to say here, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, sure, I can point out that Donkey Kong Jr. is a weird choice, but I don't normally play Donkey Kong anyway, so this doesn't bother me. I'm a Toad guy, so yeah, 10 out of 10 roster right here. I mean, you got Toad, what else could you want? Again, you've got your main characters, but I like when a weird one is thrown in there. There may be limitations for how weird I want them to get, but DK Jr., good for you, little guy. I sure hope you don't fade into obscurity after this. Anywho, moving on, the game consists of 20 total tracks, 5 per cup, with 5 of those 20 being unlockable. This would be fine, but the track themes tend to repeat, like Mario Circuit 1 and 2 are in the same cup. All the tracks, while having unique layouts, tend to blend together due to the limited hardware and similar backgrounds. And what kind of Mario Kart track has a dead end? In one of the Bowser castles, there's just a segment with a stupid little dead end. Maybe with the feather item you could jump the gap, but in my experience, this is a stupid little dead end and it pisses me off. Probably more than it should. But to avoid the dead end, you could just look at the mini-map. That takes up half your screen? Okay, this game was designed to run the split screen, so it doesn't really obstruct your view, but like, that's 50% of screen real estate that's just gone for no reason. The map's not even that good. The character sprites are way too big so you can barely tell where you're going, and it's best just to not look at this map. Now, as for this game's items, everything you'd expect to be here, like the red shells, the green shells, the bananas, stuff like that, it's all here. Until... What the? Super Mario Kart brings over the feather from Super Mario World. This item gives you a rather sizable jump to avoid obstacles or take shortcuts. So to sum it up, it's fine. The game actually has a lot of exclusive items. Too bad only the computers get to use them. Yeah, that's right, certain computer players have items that only they can use, and sometimes it's an absurd amount of them. Like Toad and Princess Peach have a mushroom they can throw at you that'll shrink you if you run into it, while Bowser can throw a fireball, Yoshi can throw an egg, and for some reason Mario and Luigi can just turn invincible whenever they gosh darn want to. I can deal with the rubber banding, but this just doesn't feel right, especially when the hit animations are the longest thing on the planet. And not to mention, the computers can just decide to not get hit by items. Like if you throw something at them, yeah, that'll hit them, but say there's an item on the road and they hit it right in front of you, they're just gonna bounce off it and keep going. It just makes the game seem unfair when playing single player. Oh, and not to mention, this is one of those Mario Kart games where if you get below 4th place, you just get ranked out. Only this time, thankfully, it gives you 3 lives, but this means this is a Mario Kart game where you can actually game over. I don't really know how I feel about that. Also, this game features the coins that return in 7 and 8, but this time the coins have a little more of a use. Sure, they may affect your speed, but don't get caught without any because for some stupid reason, if you have no coins and run into another player, you spin out. This is so stupid. Honestly, like, I just hate this game mechanic. But I've always been on team abolish coins, so... But that's kind of like my main problem with this game. There's just a lot of choices that's like... Why? Oh, but you know, it was the first Mario Kart, so give it a break. It was just the first one, you know, you were still figuring things out. It'll get there. Oh, it was from 1992. It was the first Mario Kart, you know, that's its excuse. It was just the first Mario Kart, it can't do that wrong. Well, you know what it means. Oh, come on, man. It was the first Mario Kart. Figuring things out. Mario Kart. Yeah, that's its excuse with the first Mario Kart. It was from 1992. Oh, the first Mario Kart. It was just the first one, you know. No! Enough! That excuse cannot work all the time! It says here that you're on trial for vehicular manslaughter? Yes, that is correct. And how do you plead? Well, Your Honor, look. It was only my first time. Wow, we have an incredibly fast legal system here. I'm gonna be honest, the more I play it, the less I enjoy Super Mario Kart. And I can't just keep saying, oh, well, it was only the first time. No, because that excuse can't work for everything. The controls aren't great, the computers cheat on a whole new level, and the maps all blend together. Being the first of a great series is something that no other Mario Kart can say. But that isn't a valid excuse when the game just hasn't aged well. Sure, at the time this released, anyone could acknowledge how great the game was. The technology was on a whole new level. This was something we hadn't seen before, and the game will always have that. That's an absolutely wonderful thing about Super Mario Kart, but when looking at it now, Super Mario Kart is more of a novelty than it is a game. And honestly, that's really not a bad thing for it to be right now. If you're gonna play Super Mario Kart and you have the means to do so, I recommend booting it up on classic hardware. You won't get the same experience playing this on Switch Online. Playing it on the original SNES will transport you back and make this experience a whole lot more enjoyable. Sure, it's still the same game with the same flaws, but it's the charm of playing it on original hardware, which I know sounds stupid, but it truly is the best way to play this game. But if you absolutely must play Super Mario Kart on Switch Online for the best possible experience, get in your car, boot up your Switch, open Super Mario Kart, start driving, set the cruise control to 60, drive directly into oncoming traffic, and I guarantee you it'll be a much more exciting Super Mario Kart experience. Keep in mind though, there's a reason I think this Mario Kart is better than... Despite its flaws, Super Mario Kart is incredibly charming. The sprite work is wonderful. Minus Yoshi sticking his tongue out every time he turns, I kinda hate that. But as I said before, the technology was amazing for its time and the characters look great in each environment. Oh, and not to mention the music, the tunes are just bursting with personality. All these songs are great, and every character has their own piece of winning music. There's a lot of personality packed into this little SNES game. So, Super Mario Kart has its charms, it really does. It's just heavily weighed down by some of the not so great things about this game.
Does that mean you should avoid it and never give it a shot?
No, of course it doesn't mean that. Going back to this game is an absolutely wonderful way to see how the series has developed.
What it means is that you should never play Mario Kart Super Circuit.
But here's the thing, whether you like it or not, Super Mario Kart was the beginning of something great. It was the first game in one of the best series of all time, and without it, we wouldn't have the joys of racing together in Mario Kart Double Dash, the chaotic nonsense that was Mario Kart 64, the multiplayer high-speed races on family car trips with Mario Kart DS, the wonderful unbalanced nature of Mario Kart Wii, exploring the sky and the sea with Mario Kart 7, or the 10 years of pure joy playing the always astonishing now 96 tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Without Super Mario Kart, we wouldn't have Mario Kart, and that's something that cannot be understated. Mario Kart has grown so much since the little SNES game in 1992, and it's not stopping anytime soon.
But does that mean Super Mario Kart's an amazing game? No, it doesn't. It's an okay game that led to an astonishing future. Oh. And Super Circuit.